Hi, I'm back. Okay, so the day we boarded the ship to travel to Australia, we boarded the MV Arawa. It had 3,000 passengers on it, all from Europe, and they'd all paid £10 to come to Australia, whereas we paid full fare. I had to pay for my wife, my son, and myself. Um, by the time we boarded the ship, I must have had about half a bottle of scotch under my belt. And when on board, I saw a policeman on the wharf, and I told him what I thought about him and what I thought about his government. And he was heckling back at me, and I called him all the names I could think of. And I said to him, I'm going to Australia and I'm going to tell the people there what you people are doing here. And even if I convince one Australian to do something about it, I would have done my job. I said, you guys are a disgrace. I said, you're bigots and you're oppressors. And other things. I saw his mother and his grandmother too. He couldn't get on board the ship because it was a ship from England, apparently. I didn't even know. But I was nice and high with the scotch, and I didn't care what I said to him because I knew I was leaving. And the following morning, I got up. I didn't know where I was. I found myself in this strange cabin, and I woke up. I was wondering, where the hell am I? And then I realized, oh, we on board the ship and we on our way to Australia now. My wife was not impressed because she never ever wanted to leave. She had a big family then. She wanted to stay with the family because they were a very close family. And I got dressed, we got showered and dressed to go and have breakfast in the dining room. And then we went to the dining room, walked in there. It was huge. And everybody sitting down having their breakfast. And I looked out one of the windows, they had huge windows in the dining room. And I remember the smell of the food, and the dining room seemed to move like that. And looking at the water through, looking at the sea, the water doing that, I just felt myself getting sick. And I ran back to the cabin. I dived through the door and straight into the shower. And I just brought up bang against the wall and all splashed back onto me. And I lie there. And my wife wasn't impressed. She was giving me a bit of a mind. And I just opened the shower to to clean everything away. I lied there for about 15 minutes. I couldn't walk because of seasickness. I couldn't open my eyes. The moment I opened my eyes and I felt that heaving, that was it. So I just lie there on the bunk for 3 days. Didn't eat, didn't drink, nothing, just lie there. And then on the fourth day I got up. I felt a bit better, but I thought if I have a drink, I wouldn't realize whether I'm drunk or whether it's a seasickness. And I tried that. I had a double scotch and another double, so I didn't care whether I got drunk or whether it was a seasickness. It would have meant the same thing to me. But I felt okay. And I started mixing with the other passengers, playing chess. And there was a white South African passenger on the ship. He kept coming into the pub when we were having a drink and interfering with me, speaking in Afrikaans, and the other passengers wouldn't have known what he was saying, but he was saying things like, "Why are you leaving South Africa? You should stay and take care of your people, help your people up, And now you're leaving, and after all that the government's done for you." I said, "Done for me? They've done nothing for me." I said, "Where do you know me from?" I said, "We all pay the same tax, and look at the schools you guys have. Beautiful swimming pool, you got a rugby field or a soccer field, turf. We got nothing. The school the last school that I attended there in Johannesburg, the playground was just sand and rocks, and it had a lot of hollows in the playground. And all they did to fill the hollows is bring a few truckloads of ash from the power station to fill the hollows in on the playground. The classrooms windows were all broken. They had no central heating like them. Just one little iron stove in the corner there in winter time. And he was talking about all what they've done for me, and that really upset me. And I said to him, bugger off and leave me alone. I don't want to hear about you and your government. I'm going to go live in another country now. But he kept at me. Anyhow, one of the ship's security guards came to me and he said, are you enjoying your trip? I said, oh yeah, playing chess, having a few drinks. He says, you're not being bothered by anyone. I said, well, there's a particular guy. He walks in here, he says, he's a white South African. Each time he comes in here, he orders a vodka and lemonade from the barman, and then he comes and interferes with me when I'm playing chess. I said, you'll notice him when he walks in here, he'll say, give me a vodka and lemonade. That's just saying in Afrikaans, give me a vodka and lemonade. And the barman knows what he wants now, and he's the one. And the two officers looked at each other and they nodded. And they said to me, look, when he walks in here this morning, you walk out. Go to the next pub down the passage there. They're playing chess there too. I said, yeah, okay. And it wouldn't have been 5 minutes when he walked in. And he, same thing, went up to the barman, gave me a vodka and lemonade. Barman gave him his drink. And then I stood up and the two security guards looked at me and they smiled. And I saw them taking their caps off and rolling their sleeves up. And I sort of leaned back like that to see what happened. I saw them get stuck into him, and all I could hear was, and I sort of half laughed, and I laughed. I thought, oh yeah, you beauty. I didn't have to do a thing. They did it all for me. And I went to the other pub. I never saw him for the rest of the trip. So another 6 or 7 days at sea before we came to Fremantle. And there were other South Africans on the ship as well, white South Africans. And they kept to themselves. They were mainly celebrating things about the Voortrekkers and I don't know what, they all got dressed up like Voortrekkers and did some ceremony. I don't know what it was about. I wasn't interested. And I mainly just played chess and the other games they had on board the ship. And when the ship docked in Fremantle on the 31st of March, 1969, it was Easter Sunday morning. I was lying on the bunk, and I noticed that everything had gone quiet. I couldn't feel the vibration. I couldn't hear the motors anymore. So I realized we must have reached our destination now. And I got up, walked out onto the deck because we were on the level where on deck level. We weren't below deck level because a lot of other people were below deck. And I walked out and stood out looking at the new country, very disappointed in what I saw. All red, dry sand, old buildings in Fremantle, and the wharfies looked really rough, tough blokes that I couldn't believe that white people were doing laboring work, because I'd never seen a white man haul huge ropes and shouting and yelling at each other and doing stevedore work, which I saw only black people do in South Africa. I never ever saw a white man doing that sort of work and behaving as roughly and looked as tough as these guys. And we disembarked, took our 2 suitcases and another little box. The other luggage that we had was kept in storage until we found another place. And we went on the wharf, and there were buses lining up, taking the migrants to the migrant hostel. So we got into the queue, and when I got to the door, the man asked me for my yellow card. I said, what yellow card? He says, like this fella here. I said, no, I don't have one. Next. He says, you're not a migrant. Then I remembered, of course I'm not a migrant. I came on an indefinite visa. I've got to find my own job, find my own accommodation, and find my own and pay my own fare. Then I remembered, and I said to my wife, "Oh, we can't go on the bus because we're not migrants." She said, "Well, what are we going to do now?" She's like half crying, and I'm thinking, "That's a good question." And there were a lot of church information desks, little kiosks. So I went to each one, the Catholics, the Anglicans, the Baptists, all said no. The Catholic Church said to me, if you were from Burma, we could help you, but we're not a benevolent society. I felt quite insulted because I got a glowing record from Father Hugo in Durban telling the whoever priest I was going to meet what a good Catholic I was, always attending Mass. And yeah, the guy tells me he's not a benevolent society, and if I was Burmese, he would have helped me. I didn't even know where Burma was or what he was talking about. But anyhow, the Seventh-day Adventists uh, gave me an address and told me to go to Perth to this address if I can overtake that car there. So we tried chasing that car to Perth, 13 miles away, couldn't overtake him. And when we got there, the man was just coming out. And I knew, well, we didn't get the room, or we may get another room in the building. I didn't know. But I'm going to stop there now, and I'll tell you more next time. Don't forget to like and also subscribe. And keep the comments coming. And also ask me any questions you like. I'm happy to answer any questions. Bye for now.